Welcome to this part of our service today. Today, the portion is Tetze. And it's always amazing. Every time I listen to our rabbi speaking, there's always something else that we hear, because he's not always easy for people to listen to who in the Western world, you choose one topic, you begin and you end with that topic, and you have a thread that goes throughout. Our rabbi is a very typical rabbi, and he brings in so many things, and you have to really dig and listen. But usually there's something that speaks to us, something that speaks to our own lives. There were many things actually that spoke to me this week. You know, when he was talking about Dr. Spock, most of you are too young to remember that. But my mother, that was her book back, because I was born in the late 40s. So I was raised in the 50s. That was my generation. So I understand what he's talking about. And Dr. Spock really was the one who started with allow children to, do whatever they want. Do not discipline them, allow them, because you might destroy their sensitivities, there's one thing in destroying a person's character or their spirit, but there's another thing to discipline children, and discipline. When a child is disciplined, they have to know why they were disciplined. Very often, parents would get upset and we'd be told, oh, you have to go stand in your corner or go stand in the room. I remember standing in the corner, but I didn't always know why I was there. I didn't always know what I did wrong. And you can't teach children unless first of all, you can't teach them when you're in a state of anger, when you've lost your temper and you smack them around because you think that's disciplining. That is not disciplining. Disciplining is taking time with them, explaining what they've done, what the consequences are, and helping them when they experience the consequences to make restitution for what they've done. And one thing that's really important that I notice is very difficult for some parents to do is to follow through with if you promise or you threaten that you're going to take something away from your children and then you don't do it, then they will never learn. They will never learn consequences. You have to keep your word. So it takes a lot of effort to raise children, something that I didn't do, and I regret it to this day, and it keeps coming back to bite me in the tuchus, as they say. It's not an easy thing. One of the things I noticed my own children blame me that I didn't discipline them enough. I wasn't there enough. And they're right. It's true. There's nothing I can do to change that now, but what I can try to do is be better today. The problem is now they don't want to hear anymore. So it makes for very difficult communication when they're older. So you young people, let me tell you, Mauricio, I take my hat off to you, and I have to pray for you every day, because raising children in this day and age is not a picnic. It's so hard. The battles are so much greater than the battles that my parents had. I saw a funny cartoon of a mother and a daughter sitting at the table. And this was from back in the 50s. And the little girl was sitting there and they were talking. And the little girl said, "Mommy, I feel like a boy." And the mother just turned around to her and said, "Well, you're not. Finished." That was it. Like today, today you could be anything you want. If you want to be a horse, you can. I identify with being a dog. I'm going to bark all day today, or I'm going to meow like a cat.
There are people like that.
Yeah, they're called furries.
That's right.
We have gone to such a ridiculous extreme in this world that it is such a challenge to raise children. So we need to pray. And, he said, one of the things that he said is that the nations who are merciful with the weakest are really the strongest of nations. I remember that one of the things that Hitler did in order to be strong was to destroy the weakest among the people. If you had a mental illness, if you were, they called it in those days mongoloid. Today it's Down syndrome. If they were, well, of course, the Jews were considered to be monkeys and worse than the lowest. But if you were a burden on society in any way, Hitler destroyed them. It was that was the nature. But I mean, and take a look at where they are today. But when we learn that we must take care of the weakest among us, that is so important. The idea also that he spoke about, and it's really important because many people challenge that. They say, how could this rebellious son be stoned to death by even his own parents? What he mentioned, what he said was, these laws were instituted not for us to take them literally, but it's for us to know that evil needs to be rooted out from the community from the very beginning. We make laws not because we hate people. We make laws because we want to protect people. And, we put a light on the corner of the street so that people don't go through it and kill each other. It's a good law. Maybe people don't like this law. In other countries, they don't have any red lights. They, whoever comes first, but it's not always to be taken literally, but to understand that God had a reason that the people would see that we could not allow this rebellious attitude in a small community because it would destroy the community. And, I was thinking when Rabbi said that God gave us a beautiful planet to take care of, and how we were to take care of the weakest among us. One of the things that I was wondering about in that moment, because someone said to me, how could we change things? And I wonder if we look at how many billions of people are on the planet now, 7 billion. If we took the square footage of the entire earth right now, and instead of people living in huge cities and high-rise buildings and feeling isolated from it, if communities were set up all over the globe with everybody having their own little plot of land in their little villages, where we could have our own chickens, we could have our own cows, everybody would be in a community. Like last week I was watching Fiddler on the Roof. I don't know if you've seen that movie, Fiddler on the Roof, but I wept, and I looked at this community and how much we've lost in today's world because we're so separated from each other. We're so isolated. Moshe, you would understand more living in a community. Whenever you post pictures on Facebook, I see how everybody helps each other. And it really is wonderful. Living in cities right now is really horrendous. There are so many lonely, empty people that we've created such a mess on this planet. And I think at this point, only God is going to be able to bring us back. And I don't know how he's going to do it, but that's up to him, not to me. The other idea of Amalek was not, that they killed for the sake of killing, for the joy of killing, just like hunters who go out, these hunting parties who go out just for the sake of killing innocent animals, not because they need the food. Those who need food, I can understand it. You get a permit, you know when you're going to do it, and you celebrate it with your families and your community. But to kill, just to kill, that's a terrible thing. So was there anything that spoke out to any one of you here in the way it spoke to me?
Well,
I
now
know
with my,
there was a lot, Miriam, I know.
yeah, a lot. Well, my sister's in town, and it always reminds me. We've talked a bit about things, but when you read the things like when they captured the woman, and she was allowed to mourn for a month, etc., etc. But if you read that and don't really put it into a context, and I could see what I would have said and what my sister would say, and I understand it. Say, oh, so that's good. She's allowed to live for a month, like be mourn for a month, and then she becomes your slave, and it doesn't sound so nice. But when you put it in the context of the times and the surrounding nations, could you imagine? And even now, during war, women are raped constantly. Certain countries, they're just thrown over and raped, not even during war. So I'm saying in that context, that's an incredible thing to capture a people and a woman and allow her to mourn for a month, etc. So we have to see that in context. It's not ideal. It's not, I don't believe in the renewed earth. That's even going to be an issue. If the earth is, God created this earth to be an eternal place. So if that's the way it's going to be, of course, that's not ideal. So you have to look at these things in context. Like, it's amazing to think of that when the countries that we're surrounded by, I mean, the things that were done to not only to women, to their captives, like that is an unthinkable thing. Can you imagine the Babylonians or whatever doing that?
We don't have to go as far back as that. If you think of in the Second
Right.
World War, when Russia came in and they were looked upon as the saviors against, against the Germans, but they went in and they raped the people in every place that they took over. That's modern times.
Yeah. Well, that whole concept.
But you'll never hear that from the Israeli, from the IDF forces, unless it's changed today. Because I do know, women who are raped even in Israel, which is a horror, and it just shows how far Israel has gone away from the Torah. And this is going to have to be changed. I had one question. Maybe Mauricio, you have an insight in it. Rabbi spoke a little bit about the idea of, a person could not be left hanging on a tree. I know that different cultures they worship the dead, and they literally, even up to today, they hang dead bodies. And and then I was looking at their different stages of after a person dies. Within the first one is called hypostasis, and within the first hour, the body will, it says, regurgitate the contents, and there would be emission of semen which would fall onto the ground. And it says, you not to defile the land. That could be part of it. But why is it, do you think, that we were not allowed to hang? That's why Yeshua was taken down and he was buried before nightfall. Do you have any idea about that?
Yes, in the Judaism, there exists a lot of respect of the body, because we're created by God, and we are His creation, and this body is a gift from Him. So we have to take care of the body. That's why in Judaism we do not wait. For example, there's a lot of Jewish people that do this, but it's not permitted, I would say.
Cremation,
exactly. For example, or why you can see, for example, how Israel is looking for the bones of persons who were dead. a lot of time ago. I mean, for example, this spy that was captured by Syrians, and they are still today looking for his body
Wow.
because they need to take the body and give a body according to our customs. So that's why it's not allowed really to let the body there, because it's like we are not taking care of the gift of the Lord.
You
Okay.
think that's why Joseph said, bring my bones back to Israel?
Yes. Yes.
Interesting. Well, yeah.
When I was listening, there was something that really captured um, my brain, and it was about the formulas. It's so easy to fall in this idea about there is a magic formula to to grow, to get the spirituality, and this is what people are looking. People is not looking the Torah. People is looking some receipt that that gives you the formula to get the salvation, a formula to have prosperity, and this idea is like a short way to have the goal. But the problem is when you find these formulas and you don't follow the Torah, okay, then you will have problems, because there is a no. It's very clear that the formula that is written in the Barim: hear and do, see and do.
Right.
So, in what another formula exists, I'm not sure, but it's very easy, and constantly God is telling us, hey, follow my commandments, follow the Torah. So, but today people rather to hear these formulas,
Yeah. Or
and
they
most of the
say,
formulas
yeah, they'll
are
say, exactly, they're man-made. Like Rav Shaul Paul said, faith without works is dead. Everybody has faith. We can't boast about it. But if you don't take that first step, if you don't do something to try to change yourself, or you can't change anybody else, but our situation, it doesn't mean anything. Oh, I have faith. Yeah, but what are you going to do with it?
yes.
It's very difficult to deal with issues. It's easier to hide behind the veneer, the idea, oh, I'm very religious, or I'm very spiritual. Even that idea of spiritual, what does that mean? There's so many spiritualities today.
Yeah, and the other one is about the Haftarah, which is Isaiah 53.
Right.
And there's so much deep in this passage, because I grow in a culture that believes that this servant was Jesus. Okay.
Yes. Can it be
And the
both? Can it be
no,
both Yeshua and Israel?
for me is Israel, and the one who is speaking is not God. The one who is speaking is the king of the Gentiles, who is the king of Babylon. Okay. So, and this is very interesting, because when you put that is a king, a Gentile king who is speaking, then he says, oh, through your suffering, we were healed.
Yeah, by your stripes we were healed. Exactly. It makes you wonder. And God was pleased to put his diseases on
Uh,
him. I don't, yeah.
Oh
yeah,
yeah, how
yeah,
do you
Yeah, because in the prior chapters, it's very clear that when God is speaking, He calls, "O Jacob, my servant."
Right.
Okay,
Yes.
but that's the house of Israel.
Right.
Okay, and then in chapter, I can remember if it's 43 or 48, is talking this king. Okay, and he says, "Oh, run from this place, from Babylon." Okay, and Isaiah is like taking a lot of ideas of previous chapters, and then he's still talking about these ideas in this chapter, and the point is, well, it is like, how can we be healed by the suffering of another person? Okay, but it's really what happening here, because it says, because of my sin, okay, I was healed. So it's like God could destroy the Gentiles nations, okay, but now uh, God put Israel to suffer, okay, and when people saw the suffering of these people, then they recognize, okay, and obviously it's talking about the Messianic era, but it's very for me was very joyful to find out that was not really about Yeshua for me. Okay, I would say for me, because it's clearly in this portion, okay, that fathers and sons cannot bury the sins of the other persons.
Right.
Okay, you are responsible for your own. Okay, and so we cannot say, because this person suffered and this person died, then I am saved. Okay, it's like against the Torah idea. But but when you see the suffering, I hear a rabbi that says that many persons well approach to God when they saw, for example, the suffering of Israelites, okay, of the Jewish people, and they say, "Oh, how can all these people that has suffered a lot, then they want to have a relationship with God?" And this makes something in their mind that 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 uh, allow them to approach to God, but it's not really for the suffering. It's about for the example of the people. Okay, and and that is really true. Okay,
I'm not really clear about these things. You know what I would really appreciate, Mauricio? If you can take some time out of your really busy schedule to maybe write a study on this, and I'll
yeah,
translate it. I would love to have that because I
Yeah,
go
'cause
back and forth, because we learned very obviously that that's how many Jews came to know Jesus through Isaiah 53. Then Rabbi later started teaching that it wasn't, because at the beginning he agreed, and then slowly he was changing his perspective that it wasn't Yeshua, that it was Israel. But I don't have anything clear in
yeah, me
writing.
neither.
And if you're willing, that would be wonderful to take some of those passages and then we can have a study online with it. It would be great.
okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you. Hi, Angel. How are you?
Good. Well, I have to say I disagree on a lot of things that you said.
Okay, that's two Jews, three opinions.
Probably it will take me more than one Bible study, to talk about all of every single one. But because we need to focus on what we were meant to be, that the Creator made us for, okay, as a human, as how magnificent we are and how blessed we are to be created as his image and likeness, that implies of being a being who loves, a being who takes care of his neighbor, a being who has compassion, a being who is magnificent, a being who loves.
Yeah, but how does that have anything to do with what Mauricio had to say?
No, I'm talking about this. I'm not talking about Isaiah 60. Sorry.
You're not talking about it. Okay, because when you said you disagree, he just finished speaking about Isaiah 53.
I meant I disagree with a lot of things. Okay.
With what?
You just have to read, for example, Isaiah. You have Isaiah. Put it on the screen. We're gonna read it all together. Put it on.
Let me see. We may not have time to do this whole thing. That's why I want to do a separate study on hell, and then we could look at it. But I don't think we have time today to go into this particular thing, but I'll begin. Okay.
Coming back, what I was trying to say is that we need to know who we are.
Yes, absolutely. But that's a process.
We're going to be as barbaric as any other one who has not have the privilege to be given some guidance, like we were, in the sense of through commandments and through teachings, in order to have a life, that it's not only based on only desires, but based on doing the right things, to be as we find in the Torah sometimes with the Creator, says that you have to be perfect as I am perfect. In other words, that we have to develop.
But he never said that. He never said. He said, "Be holy, because I am holy." He never said, "Be perfect." That's a Catholic.
Not perfect. Perfect. What I'm trying to say, it's holy, which means separate, which means not do the things that other people do, and we need to do things that with consciousness, with intelligence, and with understanding. Okay, and that cannot be if we don't have light. We cannot do that if we don't have light.
Yeah, but I'm still trying to see what you disagreed with, because nothing so far is, because that's exactly what Rabbi said, that evil cannot live in light, it lives in darkness.
No, about Isaiah, I didn't write everything, okay?
Could I just ask you a question?
A lot of things that like, for example, I don't agree that to put always, like Rabbi didn't also, that to picture always Israel like if it's the Holy One and that's never has never done something wrong. Okay, that is not true.
But who said that? Mauricio didn't say that.
We made the reason. No, I'm not talking about. Why you keep coming back to Mauricio?
No, because you started right after he finished speaking. You started by saying, "I disagree with a lot of what he said." What I want to understand is, what did you disagree with?
About what you said, a lot of opinions that you said, I don't agree with that. Okay.
Oh, like what?
I agree with certain portions in the scriptures. Okay, that they are talking about thing, and there is something that it's not. It doesn't go with the creator, with the real creator. Okay, because it looks like that someone is trying to teach us to be fear. Someone is trying to make us fear. And to forget about who we are. Okay, if we are creator.
Are you talking about the idea? I just want to be clear, because very often if we generalize, we can't learn. So I'm talking. Are you talking about the rebellious son? That was an idea to impose fear upon the people, and so you disagree with that? Is that what you were saying?
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm trying to say is it's that there are certain things that we need to understand, first of all, okay? That we are not stuck in the past. We are not stuck in the barbaric system. We are not, we have evolved from there. That was thousands of years ago, okay? And that is one of the problems with religion, was the people who follow religion, who does not understand the purpose of the teachings, that it was to elevate humanity, to pass from a state of barbaric to a state that honors life, protects life.
Right, exactly, because there are principles in these teachings.
Yes.
You know,
so that
yeah.
is what I'm trying to say, okay? Now, what we see in the scriptures, when people are defending the scriptures, oh yeah, because yeah, we need to do this commandment because God says, and that's it. It doesn't mean that we're gonna treat all our people that we find in the in now words, like we see all these words that they are treating the people like really bad, like especially women, where they get all raped and they get all they do horrible things, okay? But we need to get the idea of anyways, I'm trying to explain. I'm trying to disagree. I say what I disagree. I don't
No,
remember.
but the idea was the Torah tells us the Torah teaches the right way of doing things.
And the solution of it, okay, is that to understand that we need to get out of this mentality of being, we need to pass over this state of just taking the scriptures and not understanding the meaning of all of that. There's certain things that I can give you, certain verses that you will say, wait a second, what is all this put in here? Like, for example, just if we go, okay. I always like to read what Yeshua, because Yeshua always came with a approach that is essence from the Creator. It's not another approach of only putting fear on people, making act like barbarics, okay? Like we find in the scriptures, okay? Like barbaric people only act as a barbaric people.
Well, maybe you misunderstood. Maybe I didn't explain it properly. Because Rabbi,
what Yeshua said, they said, you have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be sons of the Creator. Okay, for He makes His sun rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the just and on the unjust. For if you love those who love you, what reward do you have? Do not even the tax collectors do the same? And if you greet only your brothers, what more are you doing than others? Do not even the Gentiles do the same? You therefore must be perfect as your heavenly, which is holy, where we read in the scriptures, in the Torah, as your heavenly Father is holy. Now, we understand that. Do you understand what Yeshua is trying to tell us, right?
Of course.
I think that's what we said, though.
That's what we're
Not in
saying.
Disagreement, yeah. So
Yeah, I don't hear where we disagree. Like, let's say the rebellious son. We're living in Côte Saint Luc, and there's someone. I have a red light on the corner of my street, and there's someone here who is rebellious. He doesn't believe in red lights. He's constantly going to come speeding down the street in front of my house and go through.
I can hear anything that you said. Is that you're like all stuff. I can't hear at all what you just said. Can you repeat it again, please?
Yes. the idea is when God is instituting a scenario like that with the rebellious son, the idea is there's a red light at the corner of my building and people are racing down the street. What if there was a rebellious son who lived in my building and decided he didn't believe in the red lights, and every day he would go through the red light? We're telling him, you can't do that. We have to stop you from doing that. Do you disagree with that? We have to cut evil out of the community.
But
Or
not
do we-
kill. That's, you have to go and explain the killing. They're saying to stone him.
No, but okay. What
Yeah,
is the
but
purpose of making the red light? What is the purpose?
the
The
purpose is
purpose
to
is-
save lives.
Or it's the purpose is to make the people conscious that there is a danger,
Yes.
that if you are not responsible enough, you could not only get hurt, but you could hurt other people. Right?
Okay, Mauricio, how would you explain then what he said about the rebellious son and cutting them out of, or the woman who grabbed the private parts of a man, she would have her hands cut off? That, because Rabbi said about it, we have to cut evil out of the society.
Well, first, I think Moshe is lifting in his hand.
Mhm.
Moshe
Yes,
said
Moshe.
what? Sorry?
Yes, Moshe.
So I just want to comment about what is going on. I got the point from mommy, and she was like, the Torah wants us to do exactly what it tells us to do. It's not good to do something which is out of the Torah. For example, mommy was giving the example of putting children right. And in Africa, we have a saying which says that it says that
Spare the rod and spoil the child.
spare the rod and spoil the child. So even the Bible in Ephesians tells the parents to take care of their children, okay? And then even within the teaching of our Rabbi, I noted something from him, and he was talking about human rights. And he stated clearly that human rights begins by yourself, begins with someone, not by maybe the neighbor or the neighboring country. So even when he was talking about corruption, he stated clearly that there are very many nations that are doing that, and then there are many people, many big officials in the government who are doing that. And he was trying to bring the truth, that is that what the Torah tells us to do? And the answer, my brothers and sisters, the answer is no. Even when he was talking about hypocritism, in fact, many people put on clothes on their bodies, but what is they show out, what is inside them is totally different, okay? And in fact, that's what the Torah wants us to do. The Torah wants us to follow exactly what it states. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Moshe.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you have to follow. I mean, what I'm trying to say is that what is the purpose if you follow things without understanding? It's obvious that you care because you love your children. You're gonna discipline them. You're gonna make sure that they learn, and you're gonna make sure that that the reason why they are punished, there is a reason why they're punished.
Well, that's exactly what I said. And that's what the rabbi said.
Yeah, but because,
Yeah.
this is like in the micro, is in the macro. What I'm trying to say is like, whatever happens to us here in this life, this is how the creator create everything in the universe. There are certain consequences. There are things that there is an order, okay, in creation. And we need to know these things, and there are consequences. That is the reason why we have laws and we have regulations and all this put in place.
Yeah. Hold on a second, Angel, because Mauricio was about to say something, and then he gave the place to Moshe.
Okay. Regarding the rebellious son, For me, the point is not about the rebellious son. The point is about how the parents make growing this skill, because it says at the end, and the parents will stone him. Okay.
Can you imagine?
And who is the one who is telling the people, I was not capable to raise a good guy?
Right.
Is the parents.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So the Torah is giving the responsibility to the parenthood.
Right.
And now, what in which part of the history we are talking? Okay, we are talking in a part of history that parenthood did not exist. Okay, the kids raise up alone. Okay, could you imagine, for example, today I can see that probably at the school with my kids, 50 or 60% of the kids are not raising with both parents, for
Right.
example.
Right.
Okay. And from in the rest of the 40%, probably only 10% or 20% are raised up with both parents. Okay,
Right.
because most of these guys are working and let the kids with with somebody else, or with an uncle, to whoever. Okay, so if today we don't have responsibility about growing kids properly, now can you imagine 3,000 years ago? 3,000 years ago, well, the most part of the cultures, obviously, that the Torah is talking about, for example, forbidden relationships in this portion. Okay, he's talking about the bastard sons. He's talking about who are the bastards, from for example, from relations that are forbidden in the Torah. For example, incest. For example, rape. Okay, and all these things at that time, to you know to create a new kill was something normal. Okay, but who were responsible to grow this kill?
Right.
So now the Torah is talking to whom? To the parents.
Right.
Okay, you want to have kids, then take responsibility to make grow properly, in order you don't have to stone him or
Yeah.
stone her.
Right.
Okay, and according to the sages, this portion of the Torah never was applied to, was no one was stoned. Okay, because all the parents try to make them grow with a fear of God,
Right.
by let them know the Torah. Okay, and put in their hearts the fear of God.
Right.
Okay, so you know there is no evidence of someone who were stoned. But what happened, for example, with Yeshua? We read in the Gospels that the Pharisees accuse him. Oh, you are the one who was drunk, who drinks a lot, and you are the one who eats a lot. To what is referring? To this rebellious son, because he was against the system. Okay, so they consider Yeshua at that time as it's not that he was a fat and every day he was drunk. No, it's about that they are referring to this portion of the rebellious son. And but they never stoned him, so he was not.
Right.
Okay, it was just to a saying. Okay, It's just to try to put something in the minds of all the people around him.
Right, a false accusation.
False accusations, yes.
Mhm.
And but the point is not about the power of this, is to avoid that something happen in the future. So it's a calling to the parent to tell them, hey, take care of your kids when they are child, and then they will be responsible, and you have to stone him or to stone her.
Right.
And that's, for me, that's the idea. Okay.
That is so important. Excellent. Well, it was an excellent teaching today. Thank you, Mauricio, for making this extra effort. I know it was not easy for you. You had to stop at the side of the road here just so you could be part. Angel, as usual, thank you for your input. I love to argue with you. It's always fun. And Moshe, thank you for joining us from Uganda. Continue to teach the children, and don't hit them too hard with your rod.
No.
Give them lots of love. Isabel, I hope you're doing well. And Andres,
Yeah.
thank you. Good. Thank you, Andres, for leading the service, and send your love to your parents. I saw you're on the road. Miriam, as always, thank you for joining our study. And please pray for me, because I'm suffering from my lack of properly raising and disciplining my children. So I hope you'll never know that. And I thank God that He's a God of beginning again. But sometimes I want to divorce my children and give them to somebody else. Anybody want to buy a couple of kids? I have two for sale right now. I'll give you a good price. Okay. Anyway, I'm just kidding. Just a joke. That's
Want
it.
a rabbit instead? Okay.
Peggy,
Yes.
Peggy,
Yes.
don't forget, okay? When they become adults, they are their own, and they are their own decisions. And
Yes.
the Creator gives to every single soul the free will, and
Yes.
it's up to them to decide. We
Yes.
have just a period of time where we have the chance to teach them and to guide them, like, the same thing that when we receive some the Torah, they will allow us to follow and to guide us and learn through life,
Yeah.
applying this guidance.
I know.
But it's up to them. You cannot change their minds.
I agree. I agree, because I had it worse than them. My mother I was born in a barn, like Miriam would say. I had
Jewish forest.
a Jewish forest. We had no raising whatsoever. But thank God. But the difficult part for me is that I'm constantly reminded of my failure. And that gets me angry, and I lose it. It's like a constant battle. And they want another mother, and I'm willing for them to have another mother. Honestly, if they could find them, no
I don't
problem.
think so.
Yeah, but Peggy,
What did you say, Marcia? What did you say?
Oh, I don't think they want another mother. They Your kids have the mother God thought they needed. Okay.
Yeah.
That
As opposite as anyone can be, I am of what they think a good mother is supposed to be. So what can I?
and don't worry, that you can find Abraham, and remember, Sarah had a kid at 90.
That's
Look.
funny.
Look, learning to love themselves. If we get to teach them to learn it, to love themselves, okay?
Yes.
They will love. They will love themselves, okay?
Yeah.
And never do what they will dislike themselves for. For
Yes.
themselves. So that is the entire thing, and also, we are limited as a parent.
Oh.
They will not learn. They will catch things from my wife They will catch things from
outside, from everybody, everywhere.
They will be influenced by and you know all surroundings, friends.
Yeah.
You know, but if they love themselves, they will learn. As I tell, whatever you do, whatever you love that others do to you, do to others. So.
And the only way we can teach them to love themselves is to show them that I'm learning to love myself. It begins with us. So I'm begging you all, please pray for me and this time that I'm with my kids. My daughter's going back home tomorrow to Texas. She came here to help take care of her dad, and she did a good job. And but we do have a very difficult relationship, and I'm really begging God to help me. Because I'm not, you know, Rabbi, remember when we did the disc, I'm not a huge S, and I'm not a huge detail person. I'm very bottom line. And I just like, okay, this is the way it is. And I try to, you know, to communicate in the only way I know how, but there's too much history, too many filters, too much past. And so the only thing I keep saying, thank you, God, that you're a God of beginning again. And each day we can begin again. And that's it. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And God willing, we'll see you next week. And what's the portion? Who knows the portion for next week? Let me see. Today is, we begin a new month. Now we're into September, and we're almost at the high holidays. We have to talk about what we're doing for the high holidays. So next week is Ki Tavo. And Mauricio, you're going to be speaking next week and bringing us the message, Baruch Hashem. Okay, I wish you all the best.
Bye, Shabbat Shalom.
Bye, Isabel.
Bye, Shabbat Shalom.
Bye, and we'll see you again. Take care of yourself,
Bye.
everybody.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao, ciao. Bye.